sequence here. My main topic is talking about, do we hear tone different?
Okay.
So, whenever I see a something that's blue, are you seeing the same blue as I see? Probably not, right? Like we all see things a little bit different.
See, he gets all on a tangent,
Yeah.
and then I have trouble listening. All right. What are you talking about blue for?
Okay. What I'm saying is that the same way we probably don't see things the same way, we probably don't hear things the exact same way.
Okay.
When I hear the sound of a tweet, I hear it a certain way. Are you hearing it the same way as I do? Because it feels like some people talk about guitar tone, and when they're explaining the tone of something, I'm like, it doesn't sound anything like that. Like, are they crazy? And then other times, I get with somebody that has a similar, like, that might have similar gear to me, and I'll talk to them, and we kind of can bond on the fact that, yeah, we hear things in kind of a similar fashion. We both kind of like this, and this works out well for us. Are we really just hearing things a little bit different? You know, I mean, how many versions of a Tube Screamer is out there that you need?
Right.
Is everybody hearing all those versions the same? Or is everybody modding that because they're hearing like a little different thing they want to have a Tube Screamer?
I don't think so. Here's my.
I mean, just our ear canals and everything are different, right? And to get into like physical things, our ear canals are all built differently. You know, the room that you're in is going to all be different. Like, are we hearing these things different?
I think so. Yeah. There's some physical aspects that are going to change person to person, but I think regardless. Okay. Let's say you go from a Mesa dual rectifier to a Fender Deluxe, right? Regardless on your ear spectrum, those are going to sound completely different,
Yeah.
right? So your ear attunes itself to those types of tones over time, regardless, right?
Yep.
So, people talk about like transparent, all these like cliche words when they're describing pedals. You go to the gear page, everyone says, this is transparent or this is real mid rangey, this is Tube Screamer like. I think people are just used to what they've tuned their ear to, and their preference is different. So, like, for instance, I'm not a big low mid guy. I had a Bogner Alchemist for a while, and that whole low mid thing that Bogner does is just not my thing. I personally think that a Bogner Ecstasy almost sounds too perfect.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like, and to other people, that's the tone they're searching for. Like, I think there's a different tonal preference, but we don't necessarily hear tone different because we tune our ears to what we hear anyways. This is getting real out there.
But
But
no,
like I feel like regardless, you hear tones how you've always heard them. So when people describe it with an adjective, like it sounds clear, it sounds bitey, like that's bitey in response to all those other things they've heard before. But they might have a different preference than you. Like, I'm not a dual rectifier fan, but maybe someone prefers those tones over that deluxe reverb, which is not my preference. But I think our adjectives to describe those things might be the same.
yeah, and then do you think that people get down rabbit holes? Like there's the whole SRV thing, and like everybody's into playing these big high-powered Fenders and stuff with Tube Screamers, and they get into this rabbit hole where they can really hear the difference in like a little Tube Screamer variant. Like those people are very dialed into that thing, or John Mayer,
I
you
think
know.
everyone hyper focuses on what they think is important. Like me, the tweed thing's important. I've played the Mesa Boogie Cali or whatever, um, and it's supposed to be tweed esque. I honestly don't hear much tweed tones out of it.
And then
Like,
like I listen to heavy gain stuff and like really like high gain stuff, like Mesas and 5150s and all this different stuff. And like everybody talks about, yeah, the block logo 5150 sounds so much different than the signature logo 5150. Well, they put different tubes in the block logo. We found all this stuff out later. And there was a little difference in tubes, but whenever you listen to them, especially in a mix, like good luck hearing them, but the people that are really into that, they can hear that difference for sure. Where
Again,
maybe I'm not going to catch it.
I think it's whatever your preference is and how like important it is to you. Like you dig into, like you said, all those tube screamers. Well, if you're not a tube screamer guy, you don't care anyways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
like
true.
you're only gonna focus on the things you care about. So I don't think we hear tone different. I think we just prefer things differently.
Why do people not? Why do people sometimes think they've got really good tone and their tone sucks? If we don't hear things different, because sometimes I listen to people and they're real excited.
Again, it's a preference. It's not they hear tones different. I think it's they prefer. Okay, don't come at me, but a lot of people think that Randy Rhoads' tone's terrible.
Yeah, it is.
I think for what he done though,
No,
for what he done,
don't try to.
don't try to justify.
Don't try to justify horrible tone on this show.
Look, guys, don't even try it, okay?
Randy Rhoads, he had a specific tone. No one had something like that before. Hold your comments. There is a reason why that made a different type of music.
There's a reason why no one ever got that tone again. Yeah, I get what you're saying. There's also the fact too that people will hear two things side by side that are definitely different. And I can hear differences drastically. They're like, oh, it sounds the same. Like, how is he hearing that as the same? Like, it's clearly way different, but maybe that's that preference thing again.
Also, it can be as simple as I'm sitting in front of the cab, you're standing to the side. Like,
Yeah.
I think there's so many factors.
It's interesting.
I think it's all preference.
Yeah. I don't think it's all preference because some people have got horrible tone and they can't seem to hear it.
But that's what they prefer.
Yeah. Speaking of Randy Rhoads, man, he was such a good player. And there were so many good amps at that time.
Yeah.
I tell you what, it did stick out, and when you heard it, you knew it was him. That's good.
I'm saying the Marshall, I'm sure, was fantastic.
Yeah.
Had to be that Distortion Plus, right?
It had to be. Well, a lot of people use Distortion Pluses in the Marshalls, and I like the sound.
Maybe you had that tone all the way up on that. Wait, there was only 2 knobs, right? On a Distortion
Plus, yeah. I don't know what it was, but that tone is something special.